Hi Aries, welcome to your October Tarot Horoscope. After a year of doing this, I finally figured out that I can just shuffle the cards and pull a card before I hit record instead of sitting here for minutes shuffling while nothing's happening. So I have a card for you. I haven't looked at it yet, ready for the month of October. The first 2/3 of October is Libra season, and then after that, towards the end of the month, we'll be rolling over into Scorpio season. So that's what's coming up for you this month, and Aries, your card this month is the Ace of Swords. So this is the way that the card looks here. So we have this, it's actually a lot of blank space here. We have this little hand holding a sword by the blade. There's this crown here, some flowers. We have this woman and this sort of bird flying kind of there, little red squiggles, but a lot of kind of empty space there around the sword. So we're going to go to the gigantic purple book to see what the Ace of Swords has to say for you this month, okay? Ace of Swords, the crowning achievement of the mind. In tarot, swords stand for the mind's weapons. This symbolism dates back to the figure of Justitia from antiquity. The attributes of the goddess of justice, one of the four cardinal virtues, were tools in the form of a pair of scales and a sword. Not only an executioner's instrument of power, the sword was a measure to form a judgment like the scales. While the scales measure, the sword examines and discerns, being used to make deep cuts and to draw the line, separating that which belongs from that which does not belong. On this picture, a bare hand holds the sword at the blade, indicating the pain that might be inflicted by this weapon. However, the image also emphasizes that this card is not just about fighting or other martial uses of arms. Accept this hint as a gift, enabling you to view the sword in a different manner. The realm of the mind is the air. The swallow and the angel remind us of the heights and depths of the world of the mind the heights and depths of the world of the mind and of spirits. A single sword already expresses the ambiguity of the human mind. On the one hand, it is the crowning achievement of creation. On the other hand, it represents the greatest possible alienation and distance from nature in all its glory. To develop the former and avoid the latter, it is up to us to learn to fly. The fruitfulness of the mind is measured by the refinement and fulfillment of practical needs. The Ace of Swords stands for the opportunity to gain a better understanding of your unexpressed desires and fears. Note the red being at the left margin. Practical advice. Rise and stand up straight. Gain strength from your knowledge and delve into everything you don't yet know. You possess and you will need clear reasoning and staying power. Brain jogging and physical exercise will support your mental facilities. Enjoy your newfound clarity. Okay, this sword is perfect for October because October, the beginning of it, is Libra season. And Libra season is that image of Justitia. The sign of Libra, the symbol, is that balancing scales. So the idea of justice with the scales and this singular sword, that is exactly the motif of the value, the virtue of justice in Libra season. So we're already thinking justice involves balance. So what is fair, what is just for people, the just desserts, and this discernment of then what are you going to do? The scales is just going to tell you what is. The sword is part of dispensing it and executing judgment and making that clarifying discernment and then actually producing that in the world. So this Ace of Swords for you is really helping you honing in on clarity in your mind. Clarity that is that decisive edge. It's one sword. Sword is the realm of air and mind, so it's a singular unified thought. If we have multiple swords, multiple different ideas, unsure what we're going to do, if we're bringing it into the singular sword, it's clear, it's discerning, it's defining. And so for you, this season is all about coming into discernment of what it is that you want, either what ideas you're kind of working on, if you are needing to dispense justice, if you're trying to bring yourself back into balance, if you're coming out of a season of where you've got kind of different energies, different places, and now you really get to examine what works for you. What's in balance for you? Libra is not just the sign of justice, it's also the sign of relationships and partnerships. So it's maybe bringing discernment into your relationships and partnerships. And that doesn't have to just mean romantic or sexual. It can also mean business partnerships. Anytime where you have two or more kind of beings that are coming together as equals, negotiating kind of the terms of how they're going to relate to each other in order to get their needs met. So whatever that might look like, you may need to be bringing into balance your own needs and desires, as we've kind of mentioned, looking at your needs and desires, being discerning, coming into a unity of thought, or a kind of that judgment in the positive sense, or the judgment of just, I know what is true, I know what I believe, and having clarity of singular judgment instead of, I'm not sure, still back and forth between ideas, coming into that unified judgment and then executing it. So this coming into unified thought is probably this theme of the beginning of October in Libra season. And there's a lot of retrogrades in Libra season, including a Mercury retrograde, which is that planet of the mind. So there might feel like right now it's not unified, or still kind of thinking like, I need to really reflect. I need to think. I'm not really sure what the balance is for me. I'm not really sure if I have a clear discernment yet. Well, that's great. Retrograde season is all about finding that clarity. It's really not being in action, not being so quick to like use that sword and dispense justice without thinking. It's reflecting, restructuring. Where are my values? Maybe this is something I would have done previously, but where am I right now? Do I even believe the same things? Do I have the same values? I'm not going to just wave my sword around the way I would have in the past. What's true for me now? So the beginning of October in the retrograde season is this time for reflection, finding the balance in for yourself, and then you'll be able to come into that clarity of the unified thought, that unified sword, and that ability to discern. And then as we move out of our retrograde season and there's a little bit more kind of direct momentum, then that might be the time to make those cuts, where it's have those conversations, make those decisions, be discerning and dispense what you need, or come into those negotiations. You don't want to come in like a destructive hammer. You come into the negotiating table with clarity. Your negotiations between equals is not one person autocratically declaring what's going to happen because I have my unified thought and I'm going to make you do it. That's not the Libra season vibe. You can have clarity of thought of what your needs are, and then you will have clarity in the conversation that is still a negotiation, where you together get to decide, is this in line with your values? And you get to decide no. You get to decide, I don't want to be in this partnership anymore. Or you get to decide, yeah, this is still really working for me. And you'll be able to, because you have that clarity. It's not that this thought is how it's going to be. It's that you are clear on your needs to bring to the table, to see what you can create together as more of the sum of the parts of two equal beings negotiating what their needs are. So that's kind of this Libra season beginning of October. Then Scorpio season is taking it a little bit deeper. It's specifically in the realms of desires and fears. So we may have that clarity to start the cut, to start diving deeper, and then kind of taking that unifying sword and like cutting into that which might still be buried. So Scorpio season is very much about going into the dark, going into the repressed unconscious, going into the taboo, going into that which might not see the light of day and the normal kind of day-to-day thing, and saying, what have we missed? What are we ignoring? What are we hiding behind? What unexpressed desires and fears do I have here? Can I go get them? And you can take that unity clarifying thought and use it to excise what might be trapped and bring it up for a whole new level of integration. So Scorpio season can often look a little intense or kind of messy or scary, or it can bring up a lot of intense feelings. And so it might bring up more of the combative nature. So especially if Aries, obviously an archetype or a stereotype for Aries is flashing really quite hot, or being able to jump into the warrior archetype quite easily in fight or defense or whatever it is. And so Scorpio season can bring up a lot of intensity and sometimes trauma, which can set that nervous system into the fight or flight mode, which can set that fight. So you might, have to be aware of if bringing those things to light sets you ready to fight, because that's what kind of fear does, or risk or strong desire. It can put you wanting to fight for it or fight against it. So you really want to make sure that you've done that clarifying work ahead of time, that you are fighting in a holistic way, or fighting because you know that that's the value, not just kind of swinging the sword because you're like, I brought up stuff and I'm freaking out. You really want to have that regulated nervous system. So when the Scorpio season comes up, you can face it, navigate it, integrate it, honor the fact that things might be difficult without necessarily jumping into the fray and doing more damage than good. So that invitation is coming into that centered place so that you can, with clarity and discernment, choose with agency to approach and bring up that which might be hidden or unexpressed, then weather it with this strength and knowing that things might be a little bit rough, but you have the capacity to handle it. And then you just have more integration of that, and more access to going for your true desires, because you've integrated that which you know you want and that which you have been ignoring that you want. And you're able to face or handle or navigate your fears that you know you're afraid of, and that which you haven't wanted to look at that you're afraid of, and bringing those both into balance. Even more of that Libra sort of feeling of balance, balancing the conscious and the unconscious, what we know and what we've been hiding from, to unify properly into kind of a more holistic sense. So that's what October looks like for you, Aries. Lots going on. So like I said, there's a good amount of retrogrades, particularly at the beginning of Libra season. Once we roll to Scorpio season and Libra season's over, a lot of those retrogrades will have gone direct. So that motion, there's going to be a lot of this feeling of kind of pulling back and then about to kind of launch forward and take that momentum swing. So if you're prepared and ready to kind of ride that that kind of slingshot energy, it's a really great way to kind of jump ahead, provided you're not like, too hung up on of like stuck in that kind of Scorpio disordered energy. So if you have the capacity to ride that kind of retrograde swing, the Libra season workshop that is available on my YouTube channel is going to give you a lot more insight and information on how you can harness that retrograde energy and the other transits that are happening. Do check that workshop out. Unlike usual, normally the season workshops are pay what you can to me. This month, it's a little bit different. It is donation-based to the Native Women's Association of Canada. So the idea being part of Libra season is about balance and justice. And here in Canada on September 30th, which is in Libra season, is Truth and Reconciliation Day. So the focus being on trying to bring that balance and justice into what has long-standing been an unjust and unbalanced relationship between settlers and settler governments here in Canada and the Indigenous folk that were here long before us. So those donations to the Native Women's Association of Canada is just kind of part of being in that trying to balance act in this season. So the workshop will be really supportive for you, and all of your donations will be really, really supportive for them. So thank you so much for your generosity, and thank you so much for all the effort that you put in to your own life every month. So I'm here for you always, and thank you so much. I'll see you next month, Aries. Take care.